hard as a business owner, entrepreneur, whatever, leader, to take your identity out of the company. Because it still needs to be in there. Like, you're still creating this thing. But to not tie it to it is the hard thing.
Welcome back to Torch Talk, where we shine a light on the local leaders who are building, leading, and serving with purpose. Today, we're joined by Nick Pickrel, the owner of Kingsway Services, an asphalt paving company rooted in faith, integrity, and community. Nick founded Kingsway in 2019 with a vision to go far beyond driveways and parking lots. His mission? Love people and build communities. What sets Kingsway apart isn't just the work they do, but the values that drive how they do it. From transparent leadership to hands-on community, Nick is leading a team that's grounded in trust, ownership, humility, and grit. In today's episode, we'll dive into how Nick has built a business around purpose, how his faith influences leadership, and what it looks like to grow a values-driven company in a competitive industry. Welcome to Torch Talk, Nick.
Well, thank you, Lindsey.
You're so happy to be here.
I am happy to be here. I'm glad to be here.
On a Monday afternoon.
Yeah. So, hey, the weather's nice. We can do a podcast. So.
Okay, so we have to do a little rapid fire session with our business owners whenever we're interviewing. So give us...
As a business owner, we should be good at that type of stuff.
Yeah, right? Just off the cuff. Yeah. What was... Because I know you're an entrepreneur at a young age. So what was your first job?
So my first job was mowing the two neighbors' houses for, I think it was $20 a piece.
How old were you?
I think I started doing that when I was 11. My brothers were doing it first, and then they got tired of doing it, so I took over. It was around 11 I started mowing those. And then from there, I saved up like $75 and bought a mower off of the neighbor for, and there I was like 12.
Okay.
And so
take us through your entrepreneurship journey, because I feel like you, of all people, you've always owned a business.
Yeah.
Have you ever not owned a business since 11 years old?
There was about 2-3 years when I moved out to Ohio, and I was running Canal Over as the general manager that I didn't own it.
Okay.
But that's the only time in my life that I wasn't self-employed. So basically from 11 till, now, been self-employed my whole life.
Well, you're only 28, right?
I'm 35. So I'm getting old. So
how did you do being an employee?
Being an employee is very different. I didn't like it.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
I know you. So.
I didn't like it, and I've really had to sit and marinate a little bit on why. And it really is, when you're an entrepreneur, one of the best things is your decisions, your money, the consequences are what they are, good or bad. You get to drive that. And when it's somebody else's financial risk, you lead just a little bit differently. You're leading a little more timid. You're not making as quick decisions. You think about it maybe a little longer, and that's not always a bad thing. But for me, I've gone through phases with partners, individual, as an employee for a short period, and always at the end of those, I realize how differently I start making decisions. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's not always a bad thing, but it definitely feels different whenever you're the one driving that. It's your risk. You can put it all on the table, or you can pull it all back, and that's what I think we've talked before about, that freedom. What do I love about entrepreneurship? And it's that freedom. A freedom to make your own decisions, to set your own boundaries, how much risk you want to take, how little risk you want to take. And it's definitely not freedom of time.
But are you really even an entrepreneur if you choose the freedom, but then you're not really pushing yourself? Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know any super successful entrepreneurs that would, because freedom means something, but I think that actually means something different to an employee than it does an entrepreneur who has an entrepreneurial spirit and is I have to go out and do something, because there's a sense of being free that I would think of as an employee when you say freedom, but that's actually not what I experience as an owner. It is freedom, but it's the freedom of choice and the choosing, not even just for you, but you're choosing for all the people depending on you.
Yeah, you get to decide what kind of environment the people around you working, and you get to drive that. And that's what's fun, is you can set the big vision, and you win or die by your decisions, and it's fun. I enjoy that, and you have a good day. It's like, great, we won as a team. You have a bad day, it's like, well, I made a dumb decision, and you learn that and you move on.
Okay, that makes me think about like the highs and lows. So do you in like your career as an entrepreneur, can you think of like a super high? You're like, oh my gosh, this was like the best. We accomplished this. Like, what's your high, and then like what's your low? Like, how? No, you don't have to tell us exactly what happened, but the two ends of the spectrum, because I know you've experienced both.
Yeah. A high, it's more of seasons. I struggle to celebrate individual wins. It's whenever you can compile those wins into a good season of business. That's where I've enjoyed that the most. Probably one of the biggest highs was whenever I first went into Canal Dover, and I was about 3-4 years in, and looked back at how far the culture had come, and that I still look back at that with fondness of, wow, we did something here, we changed this, and reinvigorated it, put new life into a 30-year-old company, and had people that wanted to work there. People enjoyed working there, and everybody had a voice, and it took a lot of work there. But and I that's the same way with Kingsway. Like, this morning was a high for us because we had our monthly meeting, and to see our team come together and talk about a good thing at home, a good thing at work, the camaraderie that we're building there with that company, and the difference it's making in people's lives, and so that. The financial stuff's fun, but that's fleeting. Whenever I see somebody winning personally, and changing their life, that's always a big thing, because I know that we played a part in that as a company and as an organization. The lows are the lows. I've had plenty of those, many of those actually. Probably one of the lowest seasons in my life was when my grandfather had passed away. So I've had several different businesses over the years. Picnic Lawn Service was probably that was the one that started it. So
Picnic Lawn
Service, yeah. So I tell people, I said I came up with that at school. I had to do something at school. So when I was 12, I came up with that. And I ran that company for about 11 years. And, it was never really successful, like, financially. But I learned a ton of lessons. It got me, through those teen years. It helped employ some of my friends through college. And, but in it would have been 2011, we started a company called Tri-State Trench and Bore. And this is after probably about 5 years of looking at different businesses with my grandfather, and he was a big part of my life. And so it was, we were running these two companies together. We were partners in the one, and in 2013 he passed away suddenly. I just talked to him on the phone about an hour later, or hour before. We were getting ready to go to an auction the next day. We love auctions. I still do today, equipment auctions, and all of a sudden I get a phone call. He was in a four-wheeler accident, of all things, for us, 70, I think he was 77, 75, whatever. In a four-wheeler accident, really badly hurt. And I raced down to the family farm, took my grandma to the hospital, and he ended up passing away at the hospital. And that next year in business was probably one of the hardest I ever had. I mean, to the point of literally under the desk at night, probably 10 o'clock at night, like in tears, because
you had a partner you were used to having for support.
I had somebody that I had support from. He knew the numbers, the finances. He was that, and here I was trying to figure all that out. Still, we had just bought a piece of equipment. It was about $250,000 piece of equipment we bought. First big new piece of equipment we bought, and now it's like, oh, now that's all on me. I had just bought a house, and instead of, taking the wise route of moving into the house and slowly remodeling it, I gutted the whole thing. And, and so I had to get that fixed and livable so I could move in, and then it was one of the worst years in business that I had. Like, just everything fell apart. And, when I took it, was like I was in debt up my eyeballs, didn't have too many places to turn, missed payroll a couple of weeks. Employees were just diving in, doing whatever it was through transparency. I was like, listen, I'm all in on this. If you guys are all in, we'll figure this out. And we clawed our way through that year, and over the next couple of years after that, we were able to dig our way back out of it and start building a company that was actually, doing something. So that was probably the summer of 2014. That was probably one of the hardest times I've had. And I've had hard times since, but that was, the numbers were a lot smaller than now. It's like now we have a $50,000 loss or whatever, but it hurts. But when that's all you have, and that's everything,
it's all right.
Those all hurt. So yeah, I've learned it doesn't matter the size of the business. The numbers just get bigger. The pain's still there. It's still the same problem. So
I have thought a lot since starting Fierce, because it'll be 4 years June 1st. But in the beginning, because I know you've trained for marathons or races.
Yeah.
Did you ever end up running a full?
No,
I keep signing up for a full and then not.
I signed up once for a full, and I injured my knee in a half marathon a month before it, and I could not get more than 2 or 3 miles for the
well, you understand what a training season is like. So, and like when I think back to marathon training, or even my first half, it's really not about the race. It's about the training period that you're going through. And that's like what I miss the most. Or it's very similar, like with toddlers, like you have little kids, you're going through that and it feels really crazy. But if you look back, those seasons are really special and you'll never have it again. And I've really tried to view building the business like that. Like I'm in my own set of new challenges, but it'll never be new again. Yeah. Like I'll never, unless we start something else totally different, new again. But like, that's what I'm trying to remind myself as we're going through like the challenges of being a young growing business. Also, like, this is my toddler. This is my toddler business. It'll never be like this again. So 20 years from now, when we're established, we'll have a different set of problems. Yeah. But we won't be here. So trying to keep it in perspective is, I don't know if it's working or not. We'll see. I have to daily remind myself of that. But
yeah, if you can't take the heat, get out the kitchen type thing.
That's
like
real.
Business is that way. Just get ready to have your teeth kicked in every other day and just roll with it. And do the best you can, do what you can, and move on. And, take that lesson and move on. It's like, I've seen a meme. It's like, don't mess with a man. It's just, his whole world fell apart and he says, oh, well. It's like, he's been through something. And, I catch myself saying that quite a bit. It's like, well, all right, what's next? And you just kind of keep moving on and, tomorrow's a new day.
So tell us about the beginning of Kingsway. So how did it start? Where did the idea come from? Like what Kingsway is your baby. It's your newest baby. Yeah. So tell us about it.
Yeah. So that came out of, so when I moved out, we had just liquidated the business we had, sold the house, everything, moved to Ohio. My wife's from this area. And, but I love equipment. I love construction. It's what I grew up in. I've been running equipment since I was probably 10, 11, whatever. And so I've always kept my eye in that world. I even bought and sold equipment when I wasn't, didn't have a business, so to speak. And I'd go to the local Boyd and Worthmans and just hear everybody saying, hey, we need another asphalt company in the area. We can't get quotes. We can't get jobs done. We can't get this. And that's always a, red flag in my head. I'm like, well, if you can't get it done, then somebody else needs to help do it and, solve that problem. And so we also have this whole transition from the baby boomer generation into the next generation of really entrepreneurial into a generation that's not as entrepreneurial. This handoff of, what was it, like $5 trillion worth of businesses over the next 10 years. And I just looked at it and said, well, if I could get a group of guys together, group of people together to manage these, we could really take advantage of this, and especially in the trades, like heating, plumbing, electrical, excavation, whatever it was. And so I went in. It was through talking with Jordan Mullet. I was just kept thinking of some friends, and I was like, they're not in Ohio, they're in Maryland, but man, they'd really be good for this position, this position. And so I talked with Jordan, but he's like, well, you have to get a no. It's a yes or a no. Jordan's like, go for the no type thing. And so I went in one Thanksgiving. It was the Thanksgiving of 2019, I think. 2019. It might have been 2018. Yeah, I think it was 2018. Yeah, Thanksgiving 2018. I went in and we all went out. It was me and 3 of my friends, and we went to the restaurant, and I laid out some notes and said, listen, I got an idea.
Did they even know it was coming?
No, they didn't have a clue it was coming.
They're like, we're just going to dinner, and Nick's got a business plan.
Yeah, the one friend jokes, he's like, when Nick pulled out notes, I knew something major was going to happen. I was like, I don't use notes. And I just laid out a plan. So listen, I said, if you guys move out, you don't have to. This is what I'm going to do. I'd love for you to be a part of it, but I need a yes or no. Like, is it even a possibility? Because if it is, we'll work that way. If it's not, fine, I'll find other people. But this is where I want to go. I want to put together a company with a group of companies, and we can manage them. So, great idea. Woo. And to my surprise, 2 of them said yes. And I was like, okay. So that was Darren Schrock and Jared Lapp. And so Darren was working at a furniture company at the time, and so it made sense, hey, he can come in and start working in Canal Dover. That would free me up some. And Jared, he owned a concrete company doing flat work and things like that, so he was a good fit for the asphalt. Mm-hmm. And so they ended up moving out, and Darren moved out in 2019. I think it was March of 2019, and started working in Canal Dover. And then Jared moved out. He started coming out beginning of 2020, and that's when we started Kingsway, right in the middle of a pandemic. So the pandemic happens, March. Our first jobs got canceled there in April, and we finally started laying asphalt. I think it was May 9th, 15th, something like that. So here in about a week. And we put everything we had on the line, bought used equipment, fixed it up, so on and so forth. And
so that's 5 years in like 4 days.
Yeah.
Are we doing an anniversary party? 5 years is kind of a big deal.
I wasn't planning on it. We're gonna lay some asphalt. That's what we're gonna do. So and it just kind of took off from there. The Kingsway did in 2020 during the pandemic. We ended up buying Canal Dover and had Kingsway going at the same time, and we hit our goal for revenue the first year and tripled that the second year, and it's been consistent growth. Last year was the first year we didn't grow significantly, so yeah, and since then I've lost both partners. The one moved back to Maryland, the other one's in the process of moving back to Maryland, just closer to family, and we ended up selling Canal Dover 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. That was kind of through the process of a merger. We were looking at a merger with another company, and he came in and was like, well, I'd actually just like to buy the whole thing. Like, oh, okay, well, you can do that.
Okay, so what did you learn? We're going to talk about EOS and
Mm-hmm.
get to how you've implemented that and how you use that every day now. But when you were first setting up Kingsway, you'd owned multiple businesses,
Mm-hmm.
had been involved with Canal Dover at that point. So what did you do from the beginning? I know I've had people come to me and ask a lot of questions about starting a business. So like, what did you do intentionally at the beginning to set up the culture? What vision did you have? It wasn't just, let's look for this market opportunity and take over. Like, what did you do intentionally at the beginning from an operational and culture standpoint?
Yeah. Well, it starts with our faith, for one. I went through a period where I was heavily in missions from not having any interest in that whatsoever, never wanting to travel, to, in 3 years traveling the globe and visiting like 10 different countries and being out of the country every month. And so missions, that missional impact, it played a big part in how I operate today. And I was one, like, I wanted to go in the full-time missions, and God directed me away from that into business, which is a nice long story. But, and so when he did that, I said, all right, well, I'm still going to run my businesses. Like, if I can be effective in those and still have that same mindset, like, how can we impact the people that we're working with? Mm-hmm. And so, our name is Kingsway, and that's not by accident. We want to do things the King's way. And in our industry, it has always been an industry of not very high trust. You have gypsy pavers, you have whatever that take advantage of people. And then cultures within our industry and the construction industry, they're not exactly known for being, high EQ cultures. Mm-hmm. It's just get the job done and move on, and I'll yell and scream at you if I need to. And,
But that's not even an expectation half the time from the employees. Like, no. I feel like there's like a subconscious, this is just what they expect to be treated by an employee.
Yeah, like employees, they kind of got used to it. Mm-hmm. There's no other way. This is just the industry. And that's why we have such a problem in the industry now is nobody wants their kids to work there. Mm-hmm. I don't want my kid being treated the way I've been treated. I don't want them to end up the way I ended up. I don't want them to be divorced 3 times or alcoholic or on drugs or whatever. And so that's why our industry has such a problem. And so we want to do things differently. We want to do things the King's way. And so it was like, how do we do that? Well, it's like, no yelling's one. All right, we don't yell at each other. All right, that's easy. But you'd think it would be just a standard, but it's not. I remember it was our biggest customer, and he showed up on site and was yelling at, this is a past company. And when I say biggest customer, he was about 80% of our work came from this GC. I don't ever advise that. Don't do that. Mm-hmm. But that's what we were. And he showed up on site and started cussing and screaming at my employees. And I remember my guy's going like, he's irate. And I called him on the phone and said, listen, I don't care what you do. You can yell at me all you want. I said, but if we're going to work together, don't you ever talk to my people that way, because that's not how we do it. And, it was funny. He showed up. I never met him in person. Mm-hmm. We'd always talked over the phone. It was a couple hours away, and he showed up at our office, and he's like 5'2", and I was like, all right, see, now we're on the same page. Like, don't yell at my people. And but so I've always run our companies that way, and that's how we want to do Kingsway, is make a difference. And so we set it up from the beginning with that in mind. We hadn't solidified our core values or our mission for quite some time. After that, it was about 2 years ago that we really solidified that and put it on paper. But yeah, it was like, we just want to do it different. We want to have integrity. We want to do what we say when we say it, and have open communication with our customers, put everything in writing that we can, treat our employees well, pay them well. That's why, 2 years in, we started looking at how do we get benefits for our employees. Like, we had no business to do that. Like, we probably shouldn't have. But we want our employees not to look at this as a 2-year endeavor. I'm going to do it as I get out of high school until I find something better in life to do, or until I find my way. And we want them to see it as a stepping block. Like, hey, I can start here and grow and then have a family here and make a living here and have a career here. So But.
And I've been with you for a little bit of those things, so it's been fun to watch and see how you guys have evolved. And I know we shot your core values video last year, I think. So
the core values speech.
Yeah, your 15-minute video for new employees. I bet they really love it.
Yeah.
Do you give them a test afterwards?
No, I don't give them a test.
We should start quizzing.
I mean, that's the 30-day trial period, so that's their test. Did you figure out what we're actually about? So I think it's Dave Ramsey says, do you want to be a we or not? If you don't want to be a we, that's fine. You can leave. So.
All right. So tell us about EOS and what made you interested in it. What is it? And how have you worked to implement that?
Yeah. So I had learned about EOS probably 6-7 years ago when I was on a hunt for information. When I first pulled into Conover, and I was reading every book I could think on culture, on operations, and I was like, this makes sense.
Which book did you read first? Traction?
Traction, yeah. I read Traction first, and I was like, this makes sense, but I don't know how to implement this. And it just felt like it was too daunting of a task to take on. And then, so, shelved it. Great idea, shelved it. We'll try and implement some things. Worked with a couple local people and consultants, and they would come in and they would implement like parts of EOS, and I would recognize. I was like, oh, that's the same thing as this, but you have a different name to it. You have half the system, not the full system type thing. And so then we were going through some growing pains at Kingsway about 2 years ago, and we finally said, all right, we need systems and process. Like, it's a pirate ship now. We're just full bore ahead.
It's a pirate ship. I love that.
Yeah, it's like we're just
we're out here looting for everything we can.
Whatever comes our way, we're gonna kill it. And so the idea is from pirate ship to Navy ship, and what's the process? How do you duplicate that? And so that's when I presented EOS again to our ownership and leadership team. And we decided, basically, they read it enough and were like, that sounds really nice. Like, we need that. And so but we decided we need somebody to help us implement it. Because if we do it, one, I'm the visionary. I'm not that great at implementing things. I know what we should implement, but I struggle. I can get 40%.
80% there?
I can get 40% there.
I was giving you more credit.
Maybe 80. I don't know. But it's that last 20 is really defining success there. But and so that's when I reached out to an EOS implementer, and Kevin Asti. And we teamed up with him, and he helped us implement over the last couple of years. So.
Okay. What I think is interesting, though, is I'm pretty sure I knew you were a visionary. But do you actually have an integrator?
Right now?
Yeah.
We're working on it.
Okay.
So I think if you read in the book, it'll say, the leadership team you start with isn't going to be the leadership team you finish with. And that's true. We started with 4, and we have 2 right now on our leadership team. And and that's just through weeding, pruning. And then some of the people on teams, like, I don't know if I want to go where I think we're going to go. Like, it's just I don't want to take on those roles and responsibilities that we're talking about. And so really defining those has been huge, but that's part of our goal over the next 3 years is to fully build out our leadership team. And so we know the positions we need, and we know the type of people they are. And we have a plan in place for a couple of them internally, we think, and there's going to be 1 or so that's going to be external. But the thing with EOS, and you have to really watch it, is EOS can end up being very overhead heavy.
So, let's stop for a second and tell people what EOS is. So EOS is Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Yes.
It was developed by Gino Wickman and I forget the other guy's name. I read Traction too. Yeah. It is actually, we haven't fully implemented it, but it helped us with our core values and honestly with our missions. So we have like a purpose statement instead of a mission and vision. Like, I feel like mission and vision is really confusing.
That's why we just went to a mission statement.
We just have a purpose statement. Yeah. So it's like 7 words or less, super simple. Everybody can memorize it. And if you can't memorize it, then there's a problem. Yeah. So in a EOS system, there's a visionary. So that's you.
That's
so
me.
What's a visionary do?
Basically high level stuff. So we get to have the big relationships with clients, customers, vendors, whatever. For me, I'm really good at solving big problems.
Seeing a long-term future. So this is where we want to go.
This is where we want to go.
We can usually, because I'm a visionary too, so I'm saying so you can usually see what the future should look like, and most other people can't. They're like, you want to do what? Yeah. By what? By when?
We can see where we want to go and the steps it's going to take, but we don't know how to get those steps accomplished. is the hard part. And so, and I think God created us all this way, because if you could see where you want to go and the steps it takes to get there, and then also what it's going to take to do that, you would never do it.
Because of all the pain that comes with it, the discomfort.
And so we need people that can see really far through the fog and get really excited and push that energy down to the integrator, who can see the next 20 feet and be like, all right, I can take on the next 20 feet. You know, we're 100 yards out ahead, and they're taking on the next 10 yards. But
so that's the second part.
So that
most good visionaries are partnered up with an integrator. So you have the person with the long-term vision, and then integrator is a good implementer.
Yeah. So a good way to think of it is, like, if you're really good at managing people and results, you're most likely an integrator. If you're somebody that is really, we put it this way, my team basically said, you're really good at managing people that can manage people, not managing people that need managed.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you don't need managed, great, we're going to make a great team. If you need managed day to day, I'm going to struggle, because I just don't think that way. Like, here's the end result, just do it. And so integrators, they can take that next step down, and they can put those goals in place, those steps that everybody needs to take. They're synchronized, like they synergize everybody and move you towards a goal. And so yeah, you have to have those two. Right now, I am sitting in both seats, but I have a really good team just right below that they take a lot of that
And
away.
you have a plan.
Yeah, and we have a plan.
You know what you need. It's not that you don't. You just need to find the right.
Yeah, we were on the, I don't know if you were on it, but the branches meeting last week, and they were talking about working on your business and in your business. EOS is working on your business, or working on your business. That is what it is. It helps you get above and work on your business. And the question came up in our group of, how do you know which one you should be doing at the time? Because if you go really hard on working on your business, nobody's there to do the work, especially if you have a small team. And so often we push to small entrepreneurs like, well, you got to get out of it and work on your business. You got to get out of it and work on your business. And they're like, well, I can't. Like, if I get out of it and work on my business, who's going to actually do this work? And so I've kind of constructed it. I'm sure many people have constructed this way, but what we talked about was, if you have a plan in place that you are pursuing, then that is a good time to step back in and work in your business towards that goal, because you can't always have a perfect leadership team. You're not always going to have a visionary and an integrator and a finance head and a sales head and a production head. You're not always going to have those. And so you're going to have to fill different roles. But having that plan in place that's the key to eliminating that chaos.
That's a really good analogy, or like an example to use. I can apply that to myself. Like, there's a plan in place, and it's almost like I now have, because of the plan, I can actually dedicate the time each week to work on the business, but it's not every day, all day long. Like, I'm constantly back and forth because I'm still needed in different areas of the business. But you do, especially, I think until you're 20 years, until you're super well established, there's almost always a need, until every department of your team is 100% trained out or trained and built to the point where they can train their own people. It takes a long time to reach that level of stability. So, I guess having good expectations around that balance, and that it's not an immediate flip, like, all of a sudden I have no stress and I can just handle all the working on the business.
I've implemented EOS and all my problems went away. And it's like, no, there's a reason they're weekly. You're just looking at clarity. Problems every week. And I have an interesting perspective, because I've gone from leading 10 people to leading 50 people to leading 75 people back down to leading 15 people. And in that leading 75 people, it went from 1 month, we were looking at a merger and a purchase of another company, and I was mentally gearing up for 130 employees over the next year. And I was like, oh yeah, I can handle that, no problem. We'll just put division leaders in these, we can afford that. And then within, like, the one sale fell through, with the merger ended up being a sellout, and we go back to just one company with 15, 20 employees. And anybody that's going through the trenches right now is like, you're going through the hardest part because you don't have a team established to lean on near as much. You don't have the mental resources within your company to solve the problems the way that they should be sometimes. And you can't offload that mental load and those tasks to division leaders and division heads, and because in leading 75 people, the problems were bigger, but it felt easier because if I lose 5 people, let's say 75, if I lose 7 people, that's 10% of my workforce. If I have 15 people, that's 50% of my workforce.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. Yeah. Different numbers, and if you have 75 people, likelihood of 35 people leaving is, you did something wrong if that's the case. But you, as a visionary, you love that stage right there because you literally get to work on the biggest problems all day, every day, and then help people see through the fog, and then they get to go and solve it. And so going from that back down, it's, now I am the one solving the problem and doing the solution. And
but going back down, did it make you do it better this time? Do you feel like you learned, or was it just as hard this time leading a smaller team? Like, are the challenges just so different that you can't even really compare it?
It's not easier, which is weird. I always say it feels to me like a bigger company is easier to run than a smaller one, unless you're trying to make drastic change. If you're trying to make fast and drastic change within an organization,
a bigger company is harder because you're trying to move.
Yeah, your field of view has to be in years, not months. Like, let's go implement an ERP system. We just switched the system in 6 months. We went from 5 systems down to 1. We're fully operational in that. Everybody is learning it. It's running great. We made that decision in a month or 2, and then a couple months later, we were implementing it. We were running it. Now 6 months later, we've ditched 5. To do that in an organization that's moving with 50, 60, 75 employees, that's a 2-year process, like, and $250,000 to think about. And so it's like the numbers all get bigger. The checks get bigger, the income gets bigger, but your time horizon has to get bigger as well.
Well, and your time horizon, your view, how long it takes to get things done.
Yeah. And so that's what's impressive about entrepreneurs like Elon Musk. Like, they can just make changes within an organization so fast. And it's hard to wrap your mind around. It's like there's 100,000 employees and they just swatch like that. But
okay, so there are some key EOS tools. I'm just curious, kind of more rapid fire. Are you using an EOS dashboard? Do you have one you created, or do you have? Because I know there's like different subscription models out there.
We aren't. So we opted. I'm a big software person, so this was hard for me. But we opted not to use like an EOS dashboard or EOS specific software. We were using just like a to-do type list or project management, and we've actually just stopped doing that. And we run Excel and Word for our scorecard, and we run Word for our meetings.
So the scorecard is, you have a 10-year vision. Do you have a 3 or 5 year vision?
So that'd be the VTO. So
the vision traction organizer.
Yeah. So if you do nothing else, so here's and Kevin would have agreed with us here, and he said, this is probably 60 to 70% of implementing EOS is your mission and your core values, getting those clear, and then getting a core value speech around those, so that you can bring on new talent and everybody understands not only what they're supposed to do, but what not to do. And so, our scorecard, or our core values and mission, under each core value is, here's a couple examples of what to do, and here's a couple examples of what not to do. And so there's that positive, negative, like, stay between these. So that's huge there. Get that, know why you're doing what you're doing, so everybody else can understand that and get behind it. Know how you're going to do it, and this is who Kingsway is. This is who Fierce is. do you fit in? Are you a we, so to speak? And then the scorecard and the VTO are the next thing. And that vision traction organizer, that's helps you take the 10-year, 7-year. We chose a 7-year, but a 10-year vision.
I can't go further than 3.
I know,
I'm trying to, like,
it's hard.
the 7 years, like, we actually did an exercise as a team. Rachel just wanted to see, like, what people were doing, and Julia cooked up for us that we basically have built a warehouse, like a Google-style warehouse in Fredericksburg, where we had a 2-story glass, like, all the way around. I can't even remember all the things. It was wild, like, an employee break. Like, they really enjoyed the visionary exercise, but it's so, like, probably not realistic, but it's hard to imagine what would be in 10 years or 7 years. But, okay. Sorry, I derailed us there.
But yeah, so the VTO, it's like you break it down. Here's our 7-year, 10-year. You can use 5 years. Like today's world, 5 years is plenty. And then you go 3, and then you go 1, and then you go quarter.
So, and we have done that. We've implemented portions of it. So we have annual goals that then break down into your quarterly goals, which are called NEOS rocks. And those things go in your time first.
Yep.
So that would be a good place of, you're not always working on your business, but if you are, then you need to be working on the quarterly rocks.
Yeah.
So those rocks support your overall annual goals. Like, you don't set a quarterly rock that has nothing to do with, at the end, the annual goal, because why? What are you even doing? It's not all in alignment then.
And this is probably the hardest thing, is setting really good goals.
I struggled. I mean, okay, so we actually use our core values then for our annual performance reviews. I love this. Our coach helped us set that up. So we have our core value, 5 examples of how that core value is implemented in their role specifically, and each one is answered just yes or no. It's not even a rating scale, and if there are more yeses than nos, they get a yes or no. It's just black and white. But at the end of that, we have the 3 annual goals for each department. And so this year I was working on, okay, how do I take Garrett, who's a photographer, videographer, and how do his goals align with the overall fierce financial goals, quality goals, all of those things. And it's really good, actually, because I feel like in the end, by the end of this year, we'll bring more clarity and alignment. But that's really hard to do sometimes when the person down here, like, what do they actually have to do with sales? And generating revenue.
It's super hard, and like, we're still struggling with it to implement that. Keep going down is what is a metric I can give the guy in the field?
That's the hardest part.
Running the shovel and the roller and this, that says, if you do this, you will win. Yeah. We're breaking it down for them. Basically, it's becoming an efficiency score and a safety score. It's like, hey, do it safe and do it efficient and effective. And
so you guys are developing your own scoring method for that?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're slowly developing that, and the hardest thing is, all right, you know this is the number they should hit. How do you measure? Like, how do you get that data in there on a weekly level, on a bi-weekly level, on a monthly, whatever? And so that it's really hard. But setting those good goals, because probably for the first year we struggled with this, and we're getting a lot better because we're simplifying them and taking them down and say, all right, if we don't do this over the next year or 3 months, then we won't hit our goal, or Kingsway won't be here, type thing. Like, all right, hit that. That is the number one thing. Everything else is noise. You know, you're going to have daily things that you have to do, but those, like, get them done in this quarter, get them done in, this year. And if you do that, you should be able to hit your goals. But you always have to be careful that you're not so rigid with those that you lose your culture.
Honestly, this year for us, because it's new, most of our goals are like measure, like, we're just collecting data. Yeah. At this point. So, like, how can you set a good efficiency score?
Collect enough data so I can set a better goal next quarter.
Basically.
Perfect. There you go. I mean, we're moving the ball forward.
We need to establish tracking systems first. Yep. And we don't always have great tracking systems. Yep. So I have really, because I am a visionary, I usually am like Rachel likes to tell everybody, Lindsey goes faster than everybody else. Like, you don't even try to keep up. But last year I listened
Nor should you.
Last year I listened to something that said, and this is was my biggest takeaway, slow is rest, fast is stressed. And we can go fast sometimes, but if I'm pushing everybody else to go too fast, then that is a stressed environment, and not everything is a fire. Yep. Like, we can do something slow, and sometimes if we do it slower, it'll actually be better in the long run. So we still do some things fast, but I'm trying to slow down myself as well a little bit. Like, am
it's
I paying?
really hard as a
It's
visionary.
so hard.
Like I've heard it say visionaries are constantly disappointed.
Oh man, I feel that.
Because it's like, and it's
not
nothing.
Not that it just can always be better.
Yeah, it's
it's
like,
not that you think that we didn't do a good job.
Why didn't we do it better? Let's do it again. And like, but it works. It's like, yeah, but it could be better. And you have to watch that as a visionary. That's why it's so good to have an integrator that will push back. Mm-hmm. Like somebody that's going to say, no, Nick, Lindsey, stop. If we keep moving this way, we're going to break it. So let's put that on the long-term issue. Let's put that on a long-term goal, and let's slowly move that direction, because, you know, I will do that. Mm-hmm. I'll be like, well, let's switch again. Let's move again. Let's do this. Let's break this. Yeah. And we had 1 month of data, but in mind, I was like, yeah, I know it's going to be better, but nobody else knows that or feels that. And so that's like, there's a difference between change and improvement. And you want to make sure that you're making decisions that are going to improve the business and the operations and the customer experience and the bottom line, not just change things. Mm-hmm. And so often I think we think just movement is good. Like, as long as I'm moving, we're good. It's like, no, movement is waste. Mm-hmm. If you ever look at lean, it's like any movement's waste. Mm-hmm. How do you get rid of all of it? Is what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. But sometimes entrepreneurs are like, movement's good. Like, we're just got to keep moving. And that's where I think patience comes in as visionaries, especially, is just take a breath. What is healthy for the organization and for my team? All right, let's move that way. And then just honestly step back and just let it happen. Sometimes it's just stay out of the way type thing. And, you know, God really was working on me the last year and a half on this, because I've always had big numbers in my head. By the time I'm 40, I want this. These numbers, this revenue, this profit, this. I'll do it however I need to. And I remember telling my team at Canal Dover, like, this is where I'm going. And this is stupid, but it's like, this is where I'm going. I want this revenue, and I'm going to hit it. Here's where I think Canal Dover should be. Like, you guys hit that, I'll worry about the rest. And it's like, well, what kind of attitude was that? Like, it felt good at the time. It felt like, hey, we're setting big goals. We're moving fast. But, you know, I look back and I was like, that was dumb. Like, well,
that wasn't that long ago, so you learned fast.
Yeah, I'm trying to. But we started doing that with EOS when we were setting our 10-year picture. Was we just couldn't agree. Like, mine was 50% more than everybody else's, and I wasn't budging on it. Like, I was like, guys, for the last 15 years, I said I'm going to be here. Like, this is where I want to be. And so, like, I persuaded and moved, and we got close, and I was like, all right, I can make up the difference somewhere else, like, whatever. And we sat on that for probably 6 months, and every quarter we review it. It's like, it just doesn't feel right. Like, all right. And finally, we got rid of our revenue goal completely. And we said, it's like, all right, and it's the stewardship mentality. It's like, if I am truly a steward of Kingsway, of the business God gave me, of the family God gave me, what am I going to be better if I hit a revenue goal of $50 million a year? Am I going to be a better dad? Am I going to be a better leader? Am I going to be a better... What if we hit that goal, but we have a 2% profit margin, and I'm stressed out of my mind, and everything's on the line, but guess what? We hit our goal. Like, it means nothing. Was I being a good steward of this? No. And so we sat down and said, how do we become a healthy organization? What does a healthy organization look like? How do we become a good organization? How do we become a light in the space that we're in? How do we be whatever? And so we completely got rid of our revenue goal and focused on, all right, we want a profit goal. This is the percentage of profit. And this is how much cash we're going to have, and this is, you know, how little debt we're going to have, whatever it was. And so we've been running that way now for about a year, and man, I wrestled for 6 months on this. It's like, I felt like I was just giving up my soul for because I was like giving up these big goals that I have, and and God was just working. He's like, I felt like God was saying, all right, you took it here. You got it here with your crazy ideas, your crazy momentum, your chaos in and of itself. You got it here. Let go and see where I can take it from there. Mm-hmm. And put these parameters in place so that when we get there, it's like, it wasn't me. Like, it wasn't my timing. It wasn't how I would have done it, but it's more how God would have done it. And so that's kind of the journey we're on. And it feels a lot better when you go through a hard year. You don't take it near as personal whenever those numbers don't reach what they were supposed to. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, I just failed. It's like, oh, I guess it wasn't like
there wasn't a goal.
I guess we're going to take a step back, punt, and go again.
Yeah.
And so it was setting those goals is so important and so critical. Like getting that right.
Because you've been a business owner since such a young age, always having a number in front of you has never not been there since you remember. Like that's foundational to who you are. So I feel like that's probably like that was God reworking you and the business.
Definitely.
So I understand why it would take 6 months or more to wrestle that. It's probably still lingering there a little bit.
Oh, it still lingers. Yeah, every time it's like, you sure we shouldn't put a number there? You sure we should? But no, it's like just leave it. And we'll see what happens. And when you can take it's hard as a business owner, entrepreneur, whatever, leader, to take your identity out of the company. Mm-hmm. Because it still needs to be in there. Like, you're still creating this thing. But to not tie it to it is the hard thing. To where a bad week here is a bad week at home. A bad week here is, Nick's low. And,
any tips for handling that? You switch the flip off when you walk in the door, and
I'm still figuring that out. But it's we talked about this morning in our meeting. It's understand where your identity come from, and that it's not you failing in business doesn't make you a worse person. Like you're still beloved by God. You're still you have kids. They don't care how you did today at work.
They do if it's bad.
If it's really, really, yeah.
Like, well, my kids are like, "You okay, Mom?"
Yeah, they only care because Mom is different.
Yeah.
They only care because Dad is grumpy.
Yeah.
And doesn't want to play with him because he's and so.
But they don't love you any less.
No, they don't, and they don't love you anymore because you made $1 million instead of 100,000. It's like you provided for.
Teenage girls might.
Yeah, teenagers, young adults, they might, but they have lessons to learn as well. But so I don't know, just setting those, back to the VTO.
But that's a great correlation. I mean, I think that's something every business owner who has put their blood, sweat, and tears into it. Your business isn't who you are, so that's a good connection. And
that's a good thing to speak to myself right now. Too,
preaching to yourself.
But yeah, so and one thing I want to say on the VTO is and EOS in general is take out the good and leave the things that just don't feel right.
I have probably 50% of our clients in this area do EOS, so I've got to see this firsthand in multiple different scenarios, and I have had multiple people tell me that. Like, there's one company that I can think of that actually follows the system, probably like 95%, and it makes sense for them. But I've talked to others who say, use what's best for you. So I would recommend if you're a business owner and haven't read Traction, read it. There's other books that he has that are super helpful. Like we read Rocket Fuel. That is, if you don't know if you're a visionary or integrator, read that.
Read that. You'll know
really
which
good.
one.
Yeah. But the tools, I mean, Traction is great because it's very tangible. Like there's hands-on tools. You can like I said, we used it for core values, mission statement, and you can set it down there, or you could keep going and implement other little parts of it. But
I think that if you pick it up, do this. Get your core values and your mission statement or purpose statement. Get those down so that everybody knows what's expected and how they're expected to act. Get your VTO. Set SMART goals and start really small. Start your first quarter 3 goals that are pretty high level that we can accomplish in the next 6 weeks, because probably it'll take 10 weeks and you may get some of them right, and then kind of like that slow progress just builds up over time. And then don't let EOS drive your business. Let EOS help you drive your business, because
If you try to change too much to fit the mold.
if you try to change too much, like if you set goals and then you just do everything in your power to hit them,
But you're ignoring something real that happened, and you don't pivot when you need to pivot.
A good one for us is we set goals at the end of 23 for 24, and it was 20% growth. We needed these pieces of equipment. We need this size crew. We need these people in the member leadership team. Okay, great. Let's go out there and accomplish those things. Well, we couldn't quite get our revenue where we needed to, but we set these goals in place, and we had committed to equipment. We had committed to people, and in an effort to hit these goals, like, we were crushing ourselves, and we set ourselves up for failure almost. Like, we had to hit this or else it wasn't good. And my father-in-law, he says it best, I think, and this would come from a lot of people, is like, don't plan so much that you can't fail.
Mm-hmm.
Because you might set things in motion that you can't recover from. And he always says, like, I'd rather plan for less and accidentally and like get more and have to adapt there, rather than plan for growth and it didn't come.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes we think in order to get above it is we need to plan ahead of time for growth. Mm-hmm. And you do, but don't let it take you under at the same time. Like, you have to understand, well, what's my cash flow? What's actual history here? Mm-hmm. What's our process in getting this? And so setting those smart goals and then being able to pivot. Don't be afraid to just stop. We're not going after that goal. That was a bad goal. For us, it was employee count. Like, we were like, we need this many people on each crew, this many here, here, and here. And so we went off, was like, we're going to hire, and a quarter's coming up. All right, we got to hire this person so we can check that off. And well, we made so many bad hires last year. Like, I'd look, it's like we had 9 people come and go last year. And it's like, that's disruptive in a team. Our culture went like this for about 6 months. And it was just, we were looking at these goals. We were trying to hit these goals. We set ourselves up, and we weren't doing the right things at the right times. And so this year we just, like, we're going to take a step back, and we're going to take it a lot slower, and it's working out a lot better. Mm-hmm. And
that's a good example of slow as rest.
Yeah, slow as rest. Like, and looking at the right thing. It's like, instead of how do we increase revenue, it's how do we increase margin.
I do think, just to be fair, I think that there are seasons in life where, like, when you start in business and you take anything, because you're like, well, I'm in business, I'm going to take whatever.
Yeah.
It's similar, like, with building out your team. You don't know what you don't know, so you're just like, okay, we're going to do this, or we're going to take the best candidate. Like, when you have a little bit more structure, a little bit more stability, then you can slow down a little bit and say, okay, no, we want the right person on the team. It's better to see, and you're learning from those mistakes. So it's hard without learning from, we made this wrong hire, we shouldn't have, whatever it is.
Yeah. We've learned that I'm bad at hiring people.
Hiring is hard. We just finished, we're fully staffed, but we had gone through 4 months of not hiring, and then just had to have jobs out there for 2 positions. And I was like, I just looked at Rachel this morning and was like, man, the mental tax and all it is having a position out there and weeding through the resumes and interviewing, and it doesn't look like that much more, but it just weighs on you mentally, because what it's bringing it in is so important, and you're just it's just a burden I really don't care to carry either. So
Well, and I have an interesting way of looking at it as well, and it could be wrong. It could be 100% wrong, but I don't always bring in perfect fits. I bring in some people that need molded a little bit, and I'm like, we will be just as good for them as, and maybe even more so than they are for us. But I think we can make it work until they figure it out. And it comes. It comes with looking at business as a ministry as well. Like, if I'm constantly guarding the wall against anybody that doesn't look like us, and never taking those risks, then, well, how effective is it going to be in really witnessing the people? And, that if I got to let some people in that nobody's ever believed in before and give them a chance. And that's probably why I'm bad at hiring.
That's interesting.
Like, it's an odd philosophy, and nobody would agree with me probably, but.
Well, I actually understand, especially in your field. That's not, like, I would be scared to do that. We actually do it. To be fair, we actually do it. Mm-hmm. It's just that we don't have our potential employee crowd isn't necessarily of the same, like, background.
Yeah.
But we do have people, I mean, half of our social media team, like, well, first of all, there's not a social media degree. There's marketing degrees, there's communication degrees. Yeah. So they end up with a lot of different backgrounds. They may not have ever done it before. So we're often having to just take a gamble with some of these. Like, okay, we think you'll be a good fit. Yeah. But what we have tried to do is make sure that somebody is more of a core values fit. And you're saying they might not be a core values fit now, but they could be. And you want to influence towards that.
That's probably where I cause problems. Yeah. Other people will not hold on.
But you're a visionary. You can see the best in everybody all the time. So
it'll be fine. And
then they're not. And then somebody else's problem. And then they're
that's where people don't make it past their 30 days. And it's like day 30. It's like, why we're here. Like, you can just go home. And but I've also seen it work out where we take a risk that nobody else would have. Mm-hmm. And they're some of our best employees. You see something in somebody, and sometimes you can just feel it. It's like, maybe not quite the best fit, but I think it'll work out. And other times you think this is going to be a good fit, and you just don't.
I think as you're going into it with open eyes, though, so it's not like you don't know what you're.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, as long as you know that you're making a bad decision, that makes the bad decision better. Like, it's whenever you were blindsided. It's like, what did we do? It's like, no, we knew, we accepted the risk, and now we're going to accept the consequences.
Consciously made a bad decision.
Yeah.
And now
we were willing to take that risk.
Yeah.
And all right, we'll deal with the consequences. So, I always tell people, I won't make you fire somebody that I pushed you to hire, so I'll take care of that. Mm-hmm. But yeah. So, I don't know. It's an odd view when hiring people, and sometimes it wins, sometimes it doesn't. But I was like, well, if I hired this person because I believed him and nobody else did, it didn't work out. No, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. So, but I don't know. I had a grandfather that modeled that tremendously. Like, everybody had something good in them, and so it was like, well, yeah, you can get something out of them. So,
I like that. Any final closing thoughts?
Implement what makes sense for you. Take it slow, and it doesn't have to be perfect to start. Mm-hmm. Like, just start. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's like, I probably should have done this years ago, but I felt like we weren't ready. Mm-hmm. But you can take it slow and definitely look at a third party at some point to help you.
And that third party helps you find, or will be honest with you in ways that you can't always be honest with yourself.
Especially the quarterly meetings.
Yeah.
Like, you need somebody else in the room that's going to call your bluff and call out your bullshit and say, whoa, wait a second. Mm-hmm. And so that has been tremendous. Our quarterlies are way more effective. Our quarterlies are way more effective when somebody else is there and I don't have to lead them. Mm-hmm. And we as a team can just sit and think. Mm-hmm. And somebody else will ask good questions. And so if you're thinking about doing it, definitely talk to an integrator, somebody that understands it at least, and can help you just work through that as a team. Because having that third party voice to help you just think through some things, it helps. Mm-hmm. But if you hire an integrator, don't let them run your company. Is another thing. It's like, just do what's best for your company. Mm-hmm. And a good example of that is the quarterly rocks. When you go through those and to develop them, you're going to put out every problem that you have on the board. That's how we've been doing it. Mm-hmm. It's just, you go, all right, what's the problem? What's the core? All right, boom. Let's pick what needs done this quarter. And so we would pick, here's our quarterly rocks, and here's what we need to do those. And then we would go down through the leftover and say, well, can we do any of these over the next month or so, and put those on as to-dos. And finally I stopped and said, whoa, wait a second. We just decided that these 5 things are the most important. And then we took some of these other ones and put them in front of those. Mm-hmm. I said, let's just put those to the side so we can focus on these. And we did that this quarter, and that helped tremendously. It was like the things that mattered got done, and those sums on the to-dos were a month later, like, honestly, I don't even know why they were on here.
Yeah.
Like,
if it takes care of
like,
itself.
Yeah, in 2 days, you can think up a lot of problems that maybe aren't even problems. Like, they need fixed at some point, but they're not really driving revenue. So, but yeah, closing thoughts is it's take your time, implement what makes sense for you, and yeah, it's easier than it looks, and it's harder than it is at the same time. So.
Tell everybody where they can find you. So if they want to connect with you, where do you find information about Kingsway?
So yeah, Kingsway. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I think that's just at Kingsway Services for all those. Me personally, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and I think Facebook's just Nick Pickrel, and the rest are all the real Nick Pick. So. So don't ask me.
And you can check you out online at kingswayservices.com.
Yep, you can check us out on kingswayservices.com. Awesome website put together by the fine people at Fierce Creative.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us today on Torch Talk and sharing authentically.
You're welcome. It's good to be here.